Hey, you beautiful beings. Welcome to Empowered Human with Nina Garcia. I am your host, and you are listening to the throwback episodes. Yeah, I have officially taken a pause on creating new episodes for the podcast so that I can focus on writing the book. It became very clear that while I have loved doing the podcast, I'm getting these episodes out every week to you all piecemeal. I was like, no more, no more. You all were like, please, please, can you get us all those skills and tools, Nina, in one area so that we can do the empowered human journey, so that we can really see what it's like from start to finish? To which I say, yes, absolutely. Let me get this to you. Yes. So what you're going to be hearing is this. You're going to be hearing throwback episodes from all 6 seasons, okay? It's not going to be every episode, so don't freak out on me yet. But it is going to be some of the episodes that were highlighted, that were popular, that we think, maybe you all missed and we want to bring it back. You're going to be hearing throwback episodes, and I am going to be listening along with you. I too want to hear about the journey and experience the journey that I had as we moved from Triggered Can We Play With That, the original podcast, all the way to Empowered Human with Nina Garcia. So you're going to hear personal stories. You're going to hear interviews. You're going to be given skills in every episode. Yes, you're going to be given tools in every episode for you to become skilled in. It is totally up to you whether you want to listen. If it's not the episode for you, skip to the next week, right? You just take what works for you, leave what doesn't. And if there's some stuff you're curious about, why don't you just go ahead and put that on the shelf? The podcast has always been about putting resources in the hands of people without needing to pay for it, right? And so this is no different. Even with these throwback episodes, what you're going to hear is this. We're going through, just as I said, you're going to still hear me talk at the beginning of each episode, letting you know, hey, we've had a transition. You're going to hear the original intro to the episode. You're going to hear the show music, and then you're going to hear the full original episode. This could mean that dates are off, that times are off, that people are talked about, that may no longer be in our lives, right? Just be aware of that. At the very end of the episode, you're going to see this face again come back to remind you that it was a throwback episode and to maybe offer you some adventure challenges as you move from week to week, right? Though the format of the episode did change over the years that we've done this podcast, the value is still there. So if you like something, definitely hit me up on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina and be like, Nina, I love that throwback episode about XYZ thing. Yes, fill in the blank with that. Let me know. And if there's something that you're looking for in the meantime, also hit me up on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina and let me know. Otherwise, stay curious and enjoy the ride, folks. I'll be right along there with you. Welcome to Empowered Human, the dramatically playful podcast that invites you to heal humanity, the one within you, me, and the world at large. I'm your host, drama therapist, empowerment specialist, and not to mention empowered human, Nina Garcia. And I'm so stoked you're joining me on the journey. Every Wednesday, you are invited to explore transforming from powered to empowered with genuinely human stories of courageous existence, healing from invalidation, and truly belonging to you. So wherever you are on the spectrum, from empowerment curious to empowered human ambassador, this podcast is designed to humanize. Get ready to lean into your edge, heal your worldview, and finally belong to you. This is Empowered Human. Hey you, Nina here. I've been inviting you to lean into empower. Love is love, which means all the facets of love. And you might be asking, why is this the triggered topic? And I will tell you, some of us really struggle with the packaged presentation of love, which means, of course, that there's a lot of triggers potentially around what love is. What should it look like? How should I feel it? Do I deserve it? Why can't I find it? What happens if I lose it? How can I keep it? How can I let it go? There's a lot of questions with space for a lot of triggers if we don't find an answer. So, while I can't necessarily give you any answers in this episode, if you do listen, you and I are both consenting to have a playful experience. And that experience will help us diversify our ability to play with, drumroll please, love post divorce. And in this case, we've got Hilary Bryant here to talk to us about recovering from the fairy tale ending. Hilary has created a show called Aftering. It's a must see. It is specifically created for the moment of the after the divorce. There's not a lot of stuff out there on this. You got to see it. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just shut myself up and ask you to get your journal ready, to have a good friend to talk about with what comes up for you in this episode. For now, you know I'm curious and I'm so ready. Are you ready to play? Let's take a breath. So, welcome, Hilary
Oh,
Bryant.
hi. I'm so happy to be here. I've got my coffee and tea and water all within reach. I'm ready.
I love this. You're like, my
I got
central zone is set. I'm ready to adventure.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Off we go. I'm
So,
excited.
before we go anywhere, we're going to set the intent, right? This is a human to human conversation. We've agreed and consented to step into this space, into this territory. It may get sticky, it may get uncomfortable, but in consenting to this, right? I'm saying I've still got your back and you still got mine. We're going to get through it together. Yeah?
Yeah,
All
let's get
right. All right.
sticky.
So, here is your line that you gave me. I asked Hilary for a one liner, and here it is. Hilary Bryant is a filmmaker and actor based in Los Angeles who processed her feelings about her incredibly messy, gut wrenching divorce by creating an incredibly lighthearted and silly comedy. She did this with her co star and creative partner, Ashley Rowe. And what is it called, you might ask? It's called Aftering. So, Hilary, my
Yeah.
friend.
Woo!
Now that I've said this, I've said it in the space. This is about your divorce. You use the word gut wrenching. The show is called Aftering. Just internal weather check in. What are you noticing?
I feel good. I definitely am feeling like it's sunshiny today. Like the weather is good today. There's some vibrations though. Like I think I'm feeling some
Mm,
nerves. I think I'm feeling some like it's sunny, but there's a wind, you
mm,
know?
mhm,
There's some gentle but noticeable weather. It's been a big week. We launched the show. We've been thank you so much. We've been working on it for 3.5 years. So having it out there and is huge and it feels my system is going through a bunch of different things right now.
mhm, mhm,
So it's just processing and now also conversations about it's reopened a lot of conversations because it has been 3.5 years that we've been working
mhm,
on it. And now in spaces like this or just
mhm,
in personal conversations I'm having with other divorced people or widowed
mhm,
people who have watched the show, um, I'm like back in this space of really like reopening um, some old not I don't even wanna say traumas or wounds, it doesn't necessarily feel that way in my body or my system anymore,
mhm.
um but yeah, I'm just kind of back in a space that I haven't been almost since we started working on this project. So, there's just a lot going on. It's all good, but I needed that breath at the beginning, that's for sure.
And in this moment, what do you need now?
I'm gonna take one more, can we do another one?
Let's take a breath.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that little bit. Typically, what I invite at the beginning is I say, could you share a little bit about your story? What brought you to this point, right? And keeping in mind, this is everything you can consent share, right? You don't have to tell us anything that you're not ready to. This is just about, in a nutshell, what should we know? What would you want us to know?
So, yes, I got divorced. So I moved to LA in 2014 and I got in my first 3 years there, I got engaged and married and then divorced. It was like wham, bam, bam. it was a lot. Yeah, and I'd been with this person, my ex-husband, for several years. We met in college, um, doing theater together. So it was a long-term relationship, but an extremely short-lived marriage.
Mhm.
And I had never been single before. I went from a long-term monogamous relationship with my high school sweetheart, and then met my ex-husband and jumped into another long-term monogamous relationship
Mm.
that was extremely fraught from the
Mm.
beginning.
Mhm.
Um, I was swimming in a sea of crimson red flags, but,
Mhm.
it took me a while to really get there and land there and accept the situation that I was in. And when I finally did, extricating myself from that was it was a lot, and it had to get really bad for it to get better. And so I left. And I think for a lot of young people who get divorced, um, not everyone, but for a lot of people, when you don't have kids, when the marriage was short, when you don't have money, when there's really nothing tying you together except for that you stood like a couple of dum-dums in front of all your friends, and made these vows, that's when there's nothing else tying you, the feeling that you get is like it's like an amputated limb,
Mm.
and
Mm.
so first the first couple of years, for sure, the first one after I was separated and we were getting divorced, was me just trying to, like, find whatever was gonna take the place of that piece of me that had just I felt like I woke up from surgery
Mhm.
and someone was like, "It's gone."
Mm.
Like, I didn't even see him except for the day that we signed our papers. So, like, it was truly like I was just being haunted by a ghost memory of what I had thought we had, what I was hoping we
Mm.
would have in the future.
Mhm.
And I tried a lot of different things, and a lot of them were not the healthiest coping mechanisms. And then some of them were very healthy coping mechanisms that I think I was performing a
Mm.
little bit. They were helpful, but they were also me trying to, like, perform being okay and healing and resilient and healthy so that nobody worried about me.
Yeah.
But the one that really stuck was this show. And for people who I mean, I'm sure most people that are listening haven't heard about it yet or seen it yet. Hopefully you will soon.
You want
You will soon. You're gonna love it. It is the silliest little show. It's about, this woman, played by me, who
Mhm.
on the day that she gets her divorce papers has, a divorce fairy show up and start roommating with her in her apartment and helping her figure her shit out. She's sort of this, we say that she's aggressively fine, my character. She's, like, high functioning, but extremely low-key depressed, and this fairy is sort of, like, part like hyper 4-year-old, part like horny teenager, but then also like your middle-aged therapist who's got like ancient wisdom, and she's very silly, and there's a lot of like it's just very wacky. And I honestly don't know where that idea came from except for that I think I just needed to like laugh through it. And so we made it, and the making of this show, and it's so silly beans, but it's also, like, really relatable and I think touching, and I was able to talk through it about some of the harder bits for me, and
Mhm.
so now we're here and it's out, and I'm getting to reconnect with a lot of people on this
Mhm.
issue and
Mhm.
kind of from a healed place, get to revisit it again, like,
That's
kind of
beautiful.
looking back and see
Mhm.
myself, and s look back on that poor sweet girl who was just doing her best for so long.
Yeah.
Um, and just love on her a little bit too, which is great. So
Ugh. Hilary, I love so much the space that we're in right now. Thank you so much
me
for sharing
too.
this. I mean, there's so many just gems that you just dropped in this such a short share that you just gave to just so many gems. And I'm gonna pick and choose.
Go for it.
um, but I think so much of what you said is going to resonate so much with people listening. Whether they've been through a breakup with somebody long term, because some of us have long term partners that we never marry, but that is we think that that's the one, right? That's our person. We've chosen that person, and this is going to resonate. I myself am going through a divorce still, right?
No.
And I think one of the pieces you mentioned is when you don't have we don't have anything tying you to that partner, that it feels like an amputated limb. And this imagery and being able to put words to an emotional experience is so critically important for us going through the experience. But it's also, I have found, necessary to help other people to try to empathize with the experience when they don't really get it. I expressed in a previous episode on exploring my divorce, love, grief, and tarot, maybe an episode or two ago. And I expressed that my loss, how I could even put words to it, is my loss of my partner was like, it was like realizing one day that they had died. They had died years ago, that I had never gotten a chance to say goodbye. And the grief that comes with that. And so you being able to share with me even this image of it's like an amputated limb is so, oh my gosh, it's just so, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's something so, I think, cathartic and healing about and validating about there's so much pain in this experience, right? But we are not going to stay on the pain. I want to validate that, right? Because here's the thing is a lot of people listening are still going to be in that space, right? We have to own that pain, right? And Hilary straight up called it out. She was like, I think I was performing being okay and not reaching out to anyone, right? Yeah. Enter avoidance. These are the things we do to try to survive, right? So I'm all about let's approach. Approach. Let's lean in here, right? And so yes, the pain, you got to acknowledge the pain to know how can I move forward and heal. And I think one of these pieces is emotion is energy that must be expressed. And so when you say, I don't know where the show really came from, and I'm like, girl, you was feeling lots of feelings. They needed a place to go to express themselves. So
Yeah.
it's fantastic. This is my wish for everyone listening is that you realize your emotions matter. And that emotion is energy that must be expressed. And if you do not choose to express it, it will absolutely hijack you. You will be depressed. You will have a blow up. There's so many things that your emotions will do to hijack you if you don't find a way to express it. So I love to hear that the show has been your consistent thing. This has been your thing, your funnel for that energy to go through and get your own stability, get yourself back. Oh my gosh, this almost as if when you talked about yourself, and like that young sweet girl, quote unquote, right? And it's like a love letter to her, like, hey, I still see you. And so many people will come to me to work on that inner child or that younger part or that younger self that just didn't know. They just didn't know what they were in for, right?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I really even now I'm like tearing up when I think about her and
Mhm.
she is me and but I do think of her as a little bit something separate, like my in my 20s version of myself who just wanted to believe that like love was enough.
Mm. Mm.
That like love was enough. And we're sold this from a societal standpoint,
Oh my
so
gosh,
many
yes.
narratives about it. And even
Mhm.
in my
Mhm.
parents' own marriage and they're still together, but I watched them go through things and you just have this I don't like the word naive, but an uninformed narrative about what it means to love somebody, what love is capable of doing. And
Mhm.
when you love people that aren't healed or are not capable, which in the case of my ex-husband, the best thing I can say when I'm in my most forgiving mood is that he just wasn't capable.
Mm. Mhm.
And that's just true. And when I think about her and how hard she tried and how much she wanted to just have her love received in the way that it deserved to be received. And this
Absolutely.
was something that kept going after I started dating because wow, talk about like Bambi out in the world once I was single again and
Mhm.
single in Los Angeles.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
I was not prepared. And so it took me a long time for my little baby deer out in the woods self to find her legs. But I just have so much compassion, which is so great because I think at the time I didn't really want to look at how ashamed I felt for one, not seeing or not acknowledging the truth that had been in front of me the entire time.
Mhm.
And a lot of other people in my life could see it and were telling me, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't listen.
Mhm.
And and then that what was driving me to want to, I was like, I'm going to read every personal growth book and I'm going to do all the yoga and I'm going to meditate and no one is going to be able to tell me that I'm not okay because I can point like, here's my PowerPoint presentation about like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. I'm great. I'm healing. I'm fine. I'm resilient. And it really wasn't until some things happened during the pandemic this
Mhm.
year. 2021 was a year for me where I just said, like,
Mm.
I got to the point. I didn't even say it. I was driven to the point with life circumstances, family circumstances. I went through a like kind of a breakup that like a first real post-divorce heartbreak.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
all of that got me to the point where I had to just drop the pretense and say, I'm actually like not my best. Like my highest self isn't winning out right now. Like the idealized version of what a healed me looks like
Yep.
is not panning out. And I think the quote unquote like worst version of me needs a little bit of airtime. The angry part, the hurt
Mhm.
part, the
Mhm.
tired part, the part of
Mhm.
me that doesn't know anything
Yep.
needed to be expressed and, like, maybe ruin someone's night in Vegas, by having a panic attack at the party or whatever, like, that needed to happen. And it did. It happened. That did happen. Um, Ruined a few parties this year. You know what? That's fine. Everyone survived. So, yeah, I don't know. I think and you know what I think too is that there's no prescribed like we do going back to these narratives we're given as I mean, from our whole lives. This is what love looks like. This is what marriage looks like.
100%. Here's the package.
Here's the package. And it's
Mhm.
toxic, but it's also you can if you're a rule follower, if you're like somebody who's a people pleaser, you can win that game externally. You can
100%.
play by that playbook and you can get that validation and you can do it, and I did that, like, I made sure that our narrative as a couple, regardless of what was actually happening behind the scenes, was
Mhm.
one of, "We're resilient, we're in love wins, we're gonna make it, isn't this beautiful?" That was not our reality, and then what happened when all of that crumbled is you realize that nobody gives you a divorce playbook.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that
Societally
again? There
No
is
one
no
gives you
divorce
a
playbook.
playbook that societally is, like, acceptable, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you don't grow
Mhm.
up watching divorced people on TV
Oh, yeah,
figuring
no.
shit out.
Yeah.
Sorry, figuring their stuff out. I told her that was gonna happen. I was like, "I'm gonna really try not to curse." So, sorry, friends. Figuring their stuff out. And so what happens for me, like, I
Mhm.
reverted back to the next best thing that I could figure out, which is how to be a single person in their 20s.
Mhm.
I could figure out how to get that same validation and play by the rules and do all of that by, like, dating and getting back on the horse and losing a lot of grief weight. We can talk about that in a minute, but that was I think a lot of people, women especially, go through that, like, body change. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a messy time, but I am grateful for it because I learned a lot, and now I can stand here and feel quite confident even when I'm
Absolutely.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Oh gosh. And what a beautiful thing to be able to own your truth, which is
Mm,
vulnerable. And it's not what we're taught to do, right? Here's the play to this. Here's the character you're supposed to play. Here's the story you're
mhm.
supposed to play. Now play it out. And if you don't play it out, we're going to be really uncomfortable and we're probably going to shame you for not being able to play it
Mhm.
out the way that it was supposed to go, quote unquote, right? There's, again, so much that you just shared that is just
blowing my mind incredible. One of the big pieces when it comes to you and your relationship with yourself was compassion, right? And you said it, the compassion that we have to have for ourselves, right? Woman, man, non-binary, doesn't matter, person who's now no longer in the relationship they thought they were going to be in, right? Compassion for you did the best you could, but here's the thing is we're not all knowing beings. One of the things you mentioned is swimming in the red flags, right? You said crimson red flags, right? If we knew what was going to happen, if we could fortune tell what was going to happen, it would not have happened, right? If we knew it, but we don't know it. We might suspect it. We might think it. We might say, oh, no, that'll never happen. We thought, right? But if we knew, and we just don't. And so the compassion is such, oh my gosh, it's such an incredible tool to be able to heal. Then you went on and you started
I'm
talking about all
sorry, I
the other
talked a lot. I
things.
was like, "Oh, I'm going on."
It was great. So I want to pick up on there's so many other pieces that you just picked up on. And I'm like, oh, which piece should we go with? There's the falling apart. It's messy, right? It's a messy thing. Let's go back to the image of the amputee, right? Blood everywhere. Need to figure out, how do I get that limb back, right? Which is really how do I get myself back, my whole self back without another person, right? And then, oh my gosh, I think this is the biggest thing. And I hear this all the time, even in my divorce support group. I've said it, you just said it. So we know that this is a story that matters for people, is there are no stories for after divorce. There's no script.
Nope.
There's no playbook. In fact, there's not even a lot of acceptance for it. It's so much stigma around it. And to the point where people have literally expected people to stay in an abusive relationship because that's what fit the story, right?
Right.
It's just shocking to me sometimes. But I don't want to digress too far because I think what you are doing in creating afterings is I think I'm going to cry, is you're building a story for us. You're building a story for human beings. And it's a story we need to hear, that there is something else. And that it's okay to be compassionate to that younger self. It's okay to not have known everything. And it's okay to get a little bit messy while you're trying to figure out how do I move forward and get myself and be my fully vibrant self again. And who even is that? Because you weren't a 20-year-old, right, anymore, right? Young 20s, early 20s. You weren't anymore, but that was the story you knew. And so what's sitting with me is reflecting back to you that you're on a frontier of something. You're at the beginning of something that we need as human beings. We need to start normalizing that sometimes divorce is healthier than staying together.
Oh my God, 100%. I mean, if that is something that can come out even in a small ripple effect kind of way, if this show is reducing that stigma, oh, now you're going to make me cry, Nina, because I was the first person in my family to get divorced. And I grew up, my family came from not so much my parents. My parents were extremely supportive. The whole, every step of the way of my professional and relationship journeys. I love them so much. But in a broader, more extended family sense, this was not something you did. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what abuse or toxicity or just general lack of health was existing. You just didn't do it, and you didn't do it in the faith tradition that my family historically participates in. And there is a social stigma around it, but I think no one should ever have to be committed to something that's damaging them. Life is too short and people change. And honestly, I won't even get into my little I think it's really easy for people to label divorced people who've assessed what marriage is in our society as cynical and bitter. And I'm like, I'm not cynical and I'm not bitter. I just see it clearly now. Um, I won't get onto my rant. I'm sure anyone listening, know,
We'll
but
do it for two.
yeah, where it's just me just being like, the history of marriage. But I don't think that, I don't think our society has been ready yet to look at it clearly. And my show, there is a reason why it's called Aftering. There is not media about this stage in the process. If there is a show about divorce, it's usually middle-aged people with kids And these shows are great, by the way. I love Togetherness. I love Divorce on HBO. Like, or it's about the relationship actively falling apart, right? You watch Maisel and you see like Joel and Midge like go after it, and will they get back together? Like, oh, they're fighting or whatever. Our show, you never meet this man and you will never meet this man. We don't know his name. We haven't even bothered to name him as the writers of this show. He is gone out of the picture. And that is the moment that our show starts, not with her decision to get divorced. We're not watching them fall apart. We're not watching them fight. We're meeting her in the moment when she's at her most alone and lonely and she gets her papers. And that's the impetus. And no one really tells that story because theoretically, I don't think it's that interesting to watch a woman be alone in her apartment and just deal with that. But that's what divorce is learning to be alone in your apartment. And how do you feed yourself and who fixes the car when the person that usually takes care of that is gone and
What's the new
and
routine?
finding the old t-shirt that you didn't know was there and like all of these things, and that's the show. And obviously there's a whole other side to it, which is just this absurd comedy. But at the end of the day, there's just a fairy that's like munching on Cheetos in bed and there's glitter everywhere and a lot of costume changes, but it's very fun and whimsical and silly. But at the end of the day, we're always coming back to like, how do you get your legs back under you and feel the solid ground underneath your feet, and learn to take that breath and know you're okay. So that's what we hope to do. I mean, and it's interesting because the show, I didn't write the show with any of that in mind. I wrote the show. Cheryl Strayed has this really great quote. It's something about like run across the bridge built like towards your best and happiest dreams built by your own desire to heal. And that's like the show is just that bridge for me. I was like, I just got to build this bridge so I can get to the other side.
Here it is. Emotional
And here
funnel.
it is. So that was just, the show is for me. And because I love writing and I love filmmaking and all of these things. And it's only in the looking back and having these kinds of conversations and seeing the themes that are arising is what's resonating. And it's like, oh, all of that stuff is happening and it's now for other people. And that's the phase we're in. For the past 3.5 years, it's been just for me and my little scrappy team. And now it's for other people. And it's such a wild moment. And I'm so grateful for it. But
well, I am so grateful for this time that you have taken out of what I'm sure is a very packed schedule.
Going to a meeting right after this.
to just be with us and talk about this last bit that you just shared about the bridge and where it comes and all these different pieces. And I think about and how it was for you. And I think about one of the things that people most come to therapy for is because they feel out of alignment. They're not at the center of their world. Some other trauma or something else has been at the center of their world. And so things resonate out from that trauma instead of resonating out from their truth. And how beautiful it is to hear you say, it's been for me. I've been cultivating it for me. So you've been at the center and now it can resonate out and really affect other people because you took the time and the energy to really own your truth. How courageous.
Thank you for saying that. It sounds so nice when you say it like that. Because the truth, it is nice and I really receive that. And also it's so easy for us when we know our own stories to be like, and here's like the 20 bajillion messy things that happened along the way and the ways that I messed it up and the ways that I don't want to appear like I am just in this perfectly balanced, aligned place all of a sudden, because I'm definitely not. But I feel when I say confident, it's kind of that knowing I trust myself. And it took me a long time to get to that place of trusting my own perception of the world and my own ability to carry myself through whatever comes next.
The unknown. Stay tuned, folks. All right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, you. Quick break for a sec. If Empowered Human is offering you something valuable about courage, healing, belonging, or love at your core, you may want to work with me. In particular, if you know of or identify as a high achieving man, and I say this quite seriously because if you don't, I'm going to drive you up a friggin' wall. High achiever that has leveled up in every arena except your relationship with yourself or your relationships with others. Visit empoweredhuman.love for more on how you can level up in your relationships with one of our Empowered Human intensives. Intensives understand the value of your time. Of the 3 that I offer, Walk into Courage covers a month's worth of weekly sessions in just 2 hours. Dive into Courage is a 3-day intensive that can cover up to 6 months worth of sessions. And Ascend into Courage is a year-long program to give you the skills and the network you need to level up for lifelong emotional security. When it comes to leveling up in your relationships, I got you. Head to empoweredhuman.love for more. But for now, back to the episode.
So we're nearing the end of the episode, and this is where I know, right? Where
Fast.
I know. I do that on purpose. I try to keep it in like the human to human, like people are living their lives, right? They're heading to meetings.
So right.
Like, let's get it in, let's get the knowledge in, let's have a human to human moment, and then let's keep going, right?
Yep.
And I want to know though, we set out to have, to transform a hard conversation into a teachable moment. Do you feel like we did that?
Yeah, I think I feel really great about this. I feel like just talking through it, I feel so much more aware of where I am, time and space at this moment in time. And it's just a moment, and it's going to be another moment later today and next week and next year. um, and yeah, I just think it is about taking that breath and just saying, like, where I am is good. And if it's not good, then it'll be different later. But I feel I'm trusting myself. And so I feel really good about this.
I'm trusting myself. It's not the first time you said it in this episode. So it's lovely because that is, I feel like if there was a theme to this episode, that would be it, is I'm trusting myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important for me, and it took me again time to get here, and I think I'm only just realizing that I've really like maybe starting to arrive solidly in this place is that it's not I'm trusting myself because I can't trust anyone else.
Ooh, what a
Or
big distinction.
yeah, it's not I'm trusting myself because or I'm being strong because I can't rely on other people to be there for me or because my feelings are a burden on others. But it's just I know me now. And at least for this moment, I know what I'm about.
I
And I
know
feel
me.
like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know what I'm doing
This
next.
is me.
Yeah, and so it's all good.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you so much for your time,
yeah.
so much for your energy, Hilary. It's so good to see you after 10 years. I didn't open with this,
Oh
folks,
my
but
gosh, yes. It was, like,
a minute.
such a
And
nice.
I'm gonna put this in the show notes, but how can people reach you,
Yes,
get
yes,
a
yes.
hold of you, message you, whatever, all the things?
So, personally, I am on Instagram uh, at Hilary Allison Bryant. That's Hillary with one L. I start there. Just try because it's my middle name's also spelled a little differently than normal, but it's Hilary Allison Bryant. Or you can come find me. Our show's handle is at Aftering Show. And that's also our YouTube page. And that really, if you want to go check out the show, I would just head straight there. So that's our YouTube channel is at Aftering Show. And subscribe and watch and share it if you love it. I really think I love it so much. So I really hope that people check it out. But yeah, come find me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hilary. I just, final thing that we're going to say is what's the internal weather now?
I feel like I'm just like at the beach, just I have a favorite beach here in Malibu. I'm very lucky that I get to go to Malibu and it's nice. If I'm willing to sit through LA traffic to get there,
Mhm.
it's worth it. I feel like I'm just there right now. It's breezy and sunny and gentle and cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's me again, reminding you that this was a throwback episode. I hope that you were able to take something from it, even one little nugget of wisdom, and use that between this week and next week, right? The purpose of these episodes is to give you tools. It is up to you to decide whether you want to become skilled in them. You picking up what I'm putting down? So take a tool, take something, a perspective, a moment, something that works for you, and use it in your life to transform hard conversations into teachable moments, to transform the way that you play with scary moments, right? To transform your life, to help make you the most courageous, most healing oriented, most belonging person, right? No matter where you go, that you belong to yourself everywhere you go, right? Courage, healing, belonging, whatever it is that you are taking from this episode, take it with you so that you can get out there and live your most vibrant life, you beautiful human being. Okay? All right, I'm signing off for now, but I'm gonna see you soon, okay? I'm gonna see you real soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being willing to explore healing your humanity on Empowered Human. I hope you found at least one new way to transform your worldview from powered to empowered. If you took something from the show, please take a moment of your time and subscribe to Empowered Human. And if it really nourished you, leave us a review. Your feedback helps me understand what our community needs. Not to mention, it helps others discover the empowered human life. So keep this last bit in mind. All the visual goodies come with me on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina. Stay up to date there on upcoming episodes, behind the scenes goodness, and reels dropping knowledge. Thank you again for being part of the empowered human community. Until next time, stay curious.